Holy smokes. What a game, what a comeback, what a finish for the Edmonton Oilers. The Florida Panthers had the Oilers dead to rights, 3-0 going through most of this game, but the Edmonton Oilers' resilience showed up big time in this one as they tie up the Stanley Cup Finals 2-2 heading back to Edmonton. What's up, guys? We are back doing another recap for the Stanley Cup Finals. Games 3 and 4, insanely intense. They get blown out in Florida in game 3, 6-1. It's looking like they're going to go down 3-1 in game 4. But this comeback, it not only showed the resilience for the Edmonton Oilers, but gave them life again in this series. And as someone who's actively rooting for them, not trying to be biased, just someone who actually wants the Oilers to win this year, I gotta tell you, this might have been my favorite game of the finals so far. But before we get into all of the recaps, everything that happened in games 3 and 4, and then my overall outlook for this series, if you've been enjoying the content lately, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss stuff in the future. And again, with all that being said, let's get into our recaps. Games 1 and 2 were thrillers, but going into game 3, it started to feel like the momentum was shifting a little bit too much in Florida's favor. Heading home, the Panthers pounced on the mistakes that were made by the Oilers to win 6-1 heading into Game 4. Brad Marchand became the oldest player to score in each of his first 3 games of the final, while Sam Bennett added to his already spectacular playoff performance this year, leading the playoffs with 14 goals. But it's not just Bennett and Marchand who showed up in this one. The Panthers got contributions from some of their best players, including Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Reinhart, and Aaron Ekblad, who all chased Skinner out of the building. Speaking of Skinner and goaltending, Stuart Skinner continues to leave question marks about him being a starting goalie in this game, something that we'll touch on more based on what we saw from Game 4. But let's kind of focus on the other end of the ice because Sergei Bobrovsky, goalie Bob, the 2-time Vezina winning goaltender, was spectacular yet again, making 32 saves and putting on a show in Florida. My biggest takeaway from this game, this one was a show for the Edmonton Oilers. You cannot win these games if you continue trying to play the Florida Panthers game. They're way more physical than you, their forecheck is so aggressive, and you just don't have the talent to compete with them that way. For Edmonton to come back, they need to play their brand of hockey, which is getting in front of you, putting pucks in deep, and then using your skill to outclass a team like Florida. But with Game 3 in the books, the Panthers are leading the series 2-1 heading into their barn again for Game 4, and this one, it's feeling like a must-win game for the Oilers. Game 4 and the Florida Panthers look like the same dominant team that we saw in Game 3, beginning this match 3-0, but in the end, the final score is going to be a bit surprising to you. But before we get into all of the goals and everything else that happened in this game, I think we need to talk about the biggest storyline, which is Stuart Skinner being pulled yet again. Through the season, I've had some negative commentary regarding Stuart Skinner. I feel like he's a solid guy to start for the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, his inconsistencies to me are just way too much to overcome. Let's just compare the two starting goalies, right? Goalie Bob, if his defense makes a mistake, you feel comfortable knowing that he's between the pipes and that 9 times out of 10, he's going to make that save for you. Stuart Skinner, on the other hand, I don't feel that confident. And like you guys know, I'm an avid goalie supporter, and some of these goals are not on him. It's on the defense. They're making sloppy turnovers or having bad penalties that put him in a bad situation. It's not like it's entirely his fault, but in the Stanley Cup Finals, you need a guy who's going to step up and steal the show, and that's not Stuart Skinner. Now, to preface all of this, don't ask me why this team plays way better in front of Calvin Pickard. Maybe he's just putting on better performances and that's inspiring them, or maybe they just feel like they need to play a little bit harder in front of their backup. But whatever way you see this, I think that Stuart Skinner is done for this series. Barring a terrible performance by Pickard, I think that he's going to be the starting goalie for the Edmonton Oilers, and rightfully so. This guy has earned it and has been an incredible story throughout this year's playoffs. Now, going back to the game, the Panthers would get 3 early goals in this one, 2 from Matthew Tkachuk and 1 from Anton Lundell in a dominant first period performance by the Cats. Now, this didn't reflect the entire game because the Oilers would come back and have one of the more epic performances in the Stanley Cup Finals that we have ever seen. The Oilers would come out in the second frame, get a goal from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Darnell Nurse, and Vasily Podkolzin to tie up this game. Really, though, it was Jake Wallman who was the hero late in this one, getting that third period goal to put Edmonton up. But hang on, Oilers fans, there's no sad ending to this one because Leon Draisaitl would not be denied, scoring with just over 11 minutes into overtime to win this one for Edmonton and tie up the series 2-2. Takeaways from Game 4, like we already discussed, Calvin Pickard is the starting goalie moving forward. I don't want to hear any discussions about it. As for the Panthers, this is going to be the game we look back on if they lose this series to say, yeah, this one made the difference. You can't go up 3-0, even though it's early in the game, and then somehow fall apart down the stretch. It's just not something you can do. When you're in the Stanley Cup Finals, you have to hold on to leads. You guys have the better defense. You have the better goaltending. And even though Edmonton has a lot of great offensive players, you have to lock it down just a little bit more. But that's not really the storyline, in my opinion. I think this game was more about Edmonton than it was Florida. Edmonton is playing with an extra chip on their shoulder. These guys clearly have a little bit more effort going into these games. And overall, their ability to rally after going down in these big holes is something that truly needs to be studied. We saw it in round 1, and we're seeing it again in this game, especially when Calvin Pickard's in net. It just almost feels like they unlock this new level. Now, going into Game 5, this one is going to be very interesting because I feel like this is going to be the game that decides the series. It's kind of like a back and forth one in my eyes. One team wins, the next one wins. One team wins, the next one wins. And I think eventually this is going to be cut. And now that I'm watching this series a little bit more closely, I think that the Oilers are going to pull this one out in 6, or whoever wins this next game is going to pull it out in 6, if that makes sense. I don't really see this going to a Game 7 anymore, even though it realistically could. That's just my opinion on the matter. Now, as for players who I would like to see do a little bit more in this one, I think from the Panthers, it's pretty obvious. I would like to see a little bit more from Alexander Barkov. And before you all start freaking out, yes, Barkov has impacted this series. If you're a hockey fan, it's very clear that he's been out there and has made a difference. But I'm talking more about the Alex Barkov that can score, that can put up points, not just the Barkov who plays a strong defensive game and makes the right hockey plays. I would just like to see him impact the score sheet just a little bit more, because I think if he's at his best, then that's when the Panthers are thriving. Also, a good thing for the Panthers, if you want to look on the flip side, Matthew Tkachuk has clearly been injured throughout this playoff run, and he looked incredible last night. 2 goals for the first time, I feel like, since the first round against Tampa. He's finally starting to look like himself again, and that's a dangerous thing for the Panthers moving forward. Now, as for the Oilers, this is going to be maybe an unfair criticism, but I would like to see a little bit more from McDavid when it comes to scoring goals as well. Similar to Barkov, he's making the right plays at the right time. Defensively, offensively, he's setting up his teammates and doing what he needs to do. But when it comes to scoring goals, I think I would like to see McDavid just put his game onto another level, if that makes sense. Really start to carry this Oilers team and stop allowing these games to be so tight and close that it's almost like you're holding your breath the entire time, just praying that the Oilers come out. I think he could do a little bit more as the best player in the league. And that's not even a criticism on him. It's just like, what do I need these two teams to do in order to win this series? And those are the 2 players who I think really need to be special if their team wants to win a Stanley Cup. For the Edmonton Oilers, a positive side, Leon Draisaitl, he took not getting that Hart Trophy very personally, and I think that that's a great sign for the Oilers. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He looked spectacular in this one, and the depth for the team, it really started to show up, especially their defensive core, which I think is a huge thing for the Oilers moving forward. But hey, these are just my thoughts, my quick breakdown of the 2 games so far. Again, I'm going to come back for games 5 and 6 and talk about those, and if we need a game 7, we'll break down that afterwards as well. But as always, let me know what you guys think about these 2 games. The series is tied up, so it's a best of 3 now, and I want to know who you have winning the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, as always, and if you enjoyed this recap and breakdown, be sure to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you guys want to look back on the first 2 games and my breakdown of the series before it started, check out these 2 videos right here for you on the screen. Thanks again, guys. I will see you guys in the next episode.